When modern historians attempt to reconstruct the events of the first century, they immediately encounter a massive structural void. The primary textual sources we have, the four Christian Gospels, were constructed as theological treatises, not exact historical chronicles. Looking at these original Greek manuscripts, you will not find the standardization of modern calendars. They lack the explicit month and year formatting we rely on today. Without clear dates embedded in the text, how do researchers establish a verifiable timeline for the events they describe? The solution is to step outside the text. By triangulating independent, non-textual data streams, historians can align the narrative with a quantifiable chronology. This rigorous methodology relies on multidisciplinary synchronization. The first data stream is drawn from Roman imperial regnal records and administrative history. The second stream pulls from Jewish structural and architectural timelines. The third relies on astrophysics, tracking precise astronomical phenomena like lunar cycles and eclipses. This master timeline compiles these three independent streams into a single structural framework, layering Roman history, Jewish architecture, and astrophysics. Only when an event aligns across all three of these independent scientific and historical metrics, only then can it be considered chronologically verified. We begin plotting our master timeline with a chronological marker found in the Gospel of Luke, a reference to the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar. To anchor this date, historians point to the death of Tiberius's predecessor, Augustus Caesar. His death in AD 14 serves as a hard starting baseline. Adding 15 regnal years to that AD 14 baseline provides the first mathematical coordinate for the timeline. Independent archaeological evidence, such as this silver denarius minted with his profile, confirms Tiberius's active administration during this window. This first layer provides a specific result. The Roman regnal record indicates that these historical events began in late AD 28 or early AD 29. To test that starting date, we cross-reference it with a separate data point found in the Gospel of John, a casual mention that a temple had been under construction for exactly 46 years. Looking at this scale model of the Second Temple complex, the sheer ambition of Herod's project is obvious. It was a massive architectural undertaking. To identify the start date of this construction, researchers consult secular records, specifically the writings of the first-century historian Flavius Josephus. Josephus records that Herod began the reconstruction in the 18th year of his reign. That places the start at roughly 20 to 19 BC. If we add the 46 years of construction to that 20 or 19 BC starting point, the span aligns perfectly with our AD 27 to 28 window. The architectural record matches the Roman regnal record, suggesting the AD 27 starting date is historically consistent. Shifting focus to the end of the timeline, the final events must fall within the specific tenure of the Roman prefect Pontius Pilate, whose name is carved into this stone. The ancient texts apply strict astronomical constraints to the day of the execution. It happened on a Friday, coinciding precisely with the Jewish Passover, the 14th or 15th of the lunar month Nisan. Because the ancient Passover is permanently tethered to a full moon, historians can use modern astrophysics to calculate exact ancient dates. Using Isaac Newton's methodology, researchers track lunar orbits backward to find years where a full moon preceded a Friday during Pilate's rule. Filtering the results leaves only two candidates, April 7th, AD 30, and April 3rd, AD 33. A final astronomical variable appears in the Book of Acts, which references a blood moon occurring on the day of the event. NASA's catalog of historical eclipses verifies that a partial lunar eclipse, exactly like this red blood moon, occurred over Jerusalem on April 3rd, AD 33. Astrophysics and lunar mechanics identify April 3rd, AD 33, as the most mathematically consistent candidate for the timeline's conclusion. With the timeline established, we can examine a glaring textual paradox. The Gospel of John places the famous temple cleansing event in AD 27, while the other three Gospels place it at the very end, in AD 33. Some scholars argue this is a case of theological reordering, an author moving an event for literary effect. But the triangulation of our data suggests another possibility. When we put these accounts side by side, we can perform textual forensics to look for details that might distinguish the two narratives. John's account includes specific details: a whip of cords, the expulsion of livestock, and a unique dialogue regarding the destruction of the temple. The synoptics mention no animals and no whip, instead focusing on a distinct quote about a den of thieves. While many interpret these as variations of the same story, this chronological model offers a different resolution. The specific textual details, bracketed by our proven anchors in AD 27 and AD 33, point toward two distinct historical events, separated by years of ministry. Apparent contradictions in ancient manuscripts are frequently resolved not by assuming authorial error, but by expanding the analytical dataset. Our finalized master timeline demonstrates how Josephus, Roman imperial transitions, and planetary orbital mechanics can provide a rigid structure for first-century texts. This methodology isolates embedded chronological anchors, like a casual mention of 46 years of construction, and tracks them to their verifiable foundations. By aligning theological manuscripts with independent scientific data, a rigorous chronological framework can be reconstructed even from the fragments of the distant past.